Have you ever just seen a huge train, gliding down the tracks and thought, how does that actually work? I mean, it looks pretty simple, right? But underneath it all, there's more than 100 years of some seriously brilliant and often totally invisible engineering. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain and take a look at all that hidden genius. Okay, so let's just jump right in with the fact that, I'm not going to lie, sounds totally made up, but it's absolutely true. Get this, a train steers without a steering wheel. It can take on curves perfectly, and there's nobody in the cab turning a wheel to make it happen. Right? How is that even possible? I mean, think about it. You have this massive, multi-ton vehicle. How in the world does it stay perfectly centered on two tiny little strips of steel? Well, the answer is the very first piece of incredible genius we're going to unpack. So, this all comes down to solving one really fundamental challenge, what we call the guidance problem. And you might think it's all about complex computers and electronics, right? Nope, forget all that. The solution is just pure, elegant physics, and it's built right into the wheels themselves. Okay, so what's the big secret here? Well, most people, and I was one of them, assume it's that little lip on the inside of the wheel, the flange, that keeps the train from flying off the tracks. But that's really just a backup, a failsafe. The real genius is in the shape of the wheel itself. If you look closely, you'll see it isn't flat at all. It's actually kind of cone-shaped. And that one simple design choice, that's the key to the whole self-steering thing. So here's how that amazing cone shape actually works when the train hits a curve. As it starts to turn, the whole set of wheels, they're connected by a solid axle, shifts just a tiny bit to the side. Now the outer wheel has to travel a longer distance, right? So it naturally rides up onto the wider part of its cone. And at the exact same time, the inner wheel moves to the narrower part of its cone. Because they're locked together on that axle, this difference in diameter means the outer wheel automatically covers more ground with every single rotation. It just steers itself perfectly through the turn. No driver input, no fancy computer, it's just pure physics at work. How cool is that?
Okay, but of course, sometimes you actually want the train to change tracks. That's where this thing comes in, the railroad switch. It's a really clever mechanical system with these movable rails they call points. And what they do is physically guide those conical wheels onto a brand new path. This is how trains can move from the main line onto a siding or switch to a completely different track altogether.
A train that can't stop, though, well, that's basically just a massive battering ram, right? And that brings us to our second enormous challenge, the braking problem. I mean, how on earth do you bring thousands and thousands of tons of moving metal to a safe, controlled stop? To really get how big a deal this was, you have to look at the before and after. In the before, it was a nightmare. Seriously, you had these guys called brakemen, and their job was to literally run along the tops of moving train cars, in snow, rain, whatever, to manually crank a brake wheel on each and every car. It was unbelievably dangerous and super inefficient. But then, George Westinghouse came along with his air brake, and it changed everything. Suddenly, the engineer could apply the brakes on every single car, all at once, from the safety of the cab. It was a total game changer. The impact was so massive, so profound, that people have called it, quote, the most important safety device ever known. And think about that. This wasn't just about stopping a few accidents. This one invention is what made the entire modern railway system, with its heavy loads and high speeds, even possible. Without it, none of it works.
All right, so our train can steer itself and we can stop it safely. Awesome. But what about other trains? How do you keep two of them on the very same track from smashing into each other? This is the spacing problem, and its solution is just a masterclass in beautifully simple, effective logic.
The solution is something called the signaling block system, and the concept is actually incredibly simple. Imagine you take the entire railway network and you just chop it up into sections, which we call blocks. Then you have one simple unbreakable rule. Only one train can be in a block at any time. That's it. That one rule guarantees there's always a safe space between them.
Let's just walk through how this works. It's pretty neat. So a train rolls onto the track and it enters the first section. Let's call it Block A. Instantly, that block is marked as occupied.
And here's the critical part. The system automatically makes sure the block right behind it, Block B, stays empty. That's your safety buffer. It's a guaranteed empty space.
So now, a second train can safely pull into Block C behind that buffer, but it gets a red signal. It has to wait right there until the first train has moved on and cleared Block B.
And as that first train keeps moving forward, this sort of rolling bubble of safety moves right along with it. It's such a simple, elegant, and pretty much foolproof way to keep trains from ever getting too close.
So those incredible historical innovations, they really solved the core problems of making trains work. But engineers today, they're focused on a whole new set of challenges. They're trying to eliminate every last bit of friction and get rid of emissions completely.
Right now, there are two really different technologies that are leading the charge. On one side, you've got magnetic levitation, or maglev. This one goes right after the friction problem. It uses incredibly powerful magnets to literally float the train just above the track. No contact, no friction. Then, on the other side, you've got hydrogen fuel cell trains. These are all about solving the emissions problem. They create their own electricity using hydrogen and, this is a huge deal, they can run on the tracks we already have.
So what happens when you get rid of friction completely? You know, the wheel on the rail. Well, you unlock some absolutely mind-blowing speeds. We're talking maglev trains hitting 375 miles per hour. That turns a long-haul journey into a quick little trip. At that speed, pretty much the only thing left slowing you down is just the air you're pushing through.
Now, hydrogen trains, they offer a different kind of advantage. It's just as exciting. First off, they have zero emissions. The only thing that comes out of the exhaust is water. That's it. This makes them the perfect solution for replacing old diesel engines on rural lines. You know, the places where it's way too expensive to install overhead electric wires. And get this, you can refuel one in less than 20 minutes, and it can go for up to 1,000 kilometers.
So when you look at the whole picture, the story of the train is really a story of constant, relentless innovation, right? We went from the simple, hidden genius of a cone-shaped wheel all the way to trains that literally fly on invisible magnetic fields. Over and over again, we've solved problems that seemed impossible. Every single leap forward completely reinvented what it means to travel. It really makes you wonder, what's the next great leap going to look like?